All right, we're learning this week Parshat Shmini. Parshat Shmini. And Parshat Shmini, it has a lot of things in it. One of the things it has in it is this tragic story about Nadav and Avihu, the sons of Aaron, the two older sons of Aaron. And the first day that the tabernacle was open for business, that you could go and sacrifice, they rushed in. They rushed into the Holy of Holies. They so much wanted to become close to God that they rushed into the Holy of Holies and they died. They died. This is a speech from 1960. And they just one second. Yeah. And they died. And then after that, it talks about kosher and not kosher animals. Kosher and not kosher animals. And what one has to do with the other one, we'll see. Okay, this week's Torah portion, really, the name is misleading. It's called, and it was on the 8th day. Now, really, what is the 8th day? The 8th day is the 8th day of the inauguration. There were 7 days of the inauguration. And the day after that, when the tabernacle started to work, and that's called the 8th day. But really, it wasn't the 8th day. It was the first day that it started to work. There were 7 days of inauguration. And then after that was finished, it was open for business. Right? So it's really the first day that it started to work. Why is it called the 8th day? Right? It wasn't the 8th day. There was no commandment that they should do some particular thing for 8 days. The commandment was make the inauguration of the tabernacle for 7 days. And then the day after that, you're going to start working in the tabernacle. It's going to be open. Right? So it's not, why should it be called the 8th day? So we're going to see. Oifan pasuk on the sentence where it says, Vayi b'yom hashmini, and it was on the 8th day. I'm going to make this bigger. 1 minute. 1 minute. I see this is covering. Okay. It says on Yom HaShemini, the Kli Yakar asked the question. What the Kli Yakar was? His name was, what is it? Lunchitz, I think. Lunchitz. Kli Yakar asked the question for Vos Shlomo Milunchitz, I think. For Vos roofed on their pasuk dem tag was noch the Sheva Yami Amilim. Why does this Torah call the day after the 7 inauguration days with the name 8? With the number 8. Why is it called the 8th day? It wasn't 8th day. It should be called the first day. That's the first day, opening day. Was from them that the fact that it's called the 8th day, this seems to be imply that it comes in a continuation from the previous 7 days. This was one of the inauguration days. 7 inauguration, and it wasn't. The Yamei Miluim Zayin and Dach Nit Mer Yizibentag. The days of the inauguration of the tabernacle says that Aaron brought special sacrifices over there in order to inaugurate the place, and he anointed it with oil. 7 days, and then after that it was open. Like it says, Shiva Shemim, 7 days. You have to inaugurate it. Was is the tag given? Was in the tag in these days is given Chanukah Mizbeach. This was the inauguration, the initiation of the altar. They put oil on it, poured oil on it. This is what God told them to do. This was last week's Torah portion. Why is this day called the 8th day? Oh, but they're talking, but this day, make it bigger again. Here we go. Oh, but they're talking, but that day was not the 7, which is after the 7 days, was a thing for itself. Why should it be called number 8? 8 implies that it's just one of the continuation, right? It's one of the continuation. 4, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. But it wasn't. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That ends one series, and then the new one day. Why call it the number 8? This was not one of the days of the inauguration or the initiation of the altar. And that's what the Kli Yakar says. And when for answer, and he answers, as thus was the Torah, that what the Torah calls this day, the eighth day. This is in order to tell us the high quality of this day. It says, but it says afterwards immediately, Ki hayom Hashem nira lechem, that today, the day God will appear to you. And then as in dem achter, in that eighth day, bewezen sich that God revealed himself to the Jews. Is there pasuk maktim or mavor? So therefore the sentence precedes and tells us, for vos tavka is dem tag, why on that day is vetman der Eberster, why is it that on that day, the eighth day, God revealed himself on that day, not the previous ones, not the Frierdiker. Val is there Yom HaShmini, because it's the eighth day. And the eighth is something special. And the Rebbe, and therefore, is in Im Faran, a Hecher Kedusha, there's a higher level of holiness, via the Frierdiker Zeventag in the 7 previous days. Because call a Mispar Sheva, the number 7 is chol, is mundane. Mispar Shmini, and the number 8 is holy. The circumcision is on the 8th day. Und das ist euch der Tam for us, Mila, that's the reason that circumcision is Docha Shabbos, pushes away Shabbat. If a child is born on Shabbat, so you make the circumcision the next Shabbat, 8 days later. But Shabbat, you're not allowed to cut. You're not allowed to draw blood on Shabbat. Can't do this. If the circumcision has to occur on Shabbat, that the 8th day is Shabbat, it pushes away Shabbat, because circumcision is number 8 and Shabbat is the number 7. And spiritual pushes away physical. So that's why it's called the 8th day, to show not that it's just a continuation of the 7 days, because it shows that it's number 8. It's totally higher than the 7 days. Dosva says like that, what it says in the number 7, that it's mundane, maintained. It doesn't mean that it's really mundane. Shabbat is mundane. Shabbat is a regular day. Shabbat is holy. Nor vibal, but because as oich Shabbat, that Shabbat also goes in the 7 days of the creation, is noch alt, after everything, it is connected, verbunden mit der Bria, what's connected with the creation. Und legabi dem mispar shmini, because of this number 8, versus hecher, which is higher and from klolos than the whole idea of the creation, und is miyuchad adayin, and is miyuchad elav, and it's united with God. That number 8 shows that it's not connected to the creation; it's connected to the Creator. As very according in comparison to the number 8, even Shabbat, which is holy, is considered to be mundane. Something like what we just finished learning in the Likuti Torah about the difference between when God splits the river in the future, that'll make splitting the sea to be something like normal. Azoy is oich moving. Also the dogma was their Kli Yakar. With the Kli Yakar, he also brings vegan the Maila Kedusha from Mispar Sheni. He talks about what's the highness of the number 8. Now, I think it's very important to remember that the reason that we're learning this is to make us crazy a little bit. Is to make us realize that what we see and what there is in the world is just, like we said, the tip of this inverted iceberg of reality. The world is real. Don't think it's not real. It certainly is real. But the reality that this world demonstrates on its own is just so far away from what's really behind this world, what's really inside of the world, that it's like the world is considered to be a total lie. It's like a person putting a mask over his face and saying that he's a gorilla. So he looks like a gorilla and he acts like a gorilla, but he's not a gorilla. There's a human being behind him with a personality, with the intellect and emotions and a past and a potential that gorillas don't have. But you see the face of a gorilla is true. The same thing in this world. It presents itself to be something that's just a covering for what's behind it. And the world is just like a mask over the creator. Now the world is really real, and like this person, there must be a reason why he put a gorilla's face on. Why did he do it? Must have some reason. Same thing. There's a reason why God put the difference between the two of them is a gorilla's mask is something that's really not real. The person is not, and the world is real. It is real. We just have to reveal what the truth is, what it's hiding. The gorilla mask, in my example, you throw it away, and it's nothing. The world, we're not throwing away the world. The world is the ultimate truth, can be revealed only in the physical world. That's the number 8. And the world as it is, that's the number 7. But what's going to be revealed, it says that's the number 8. That says that the harp in the days of the Moshiach is going to be 8 strings. In regularly it was 7 strings, it'll be 8. Was pashut because simply as their kinor, the harp, which was in the Beit HaMikdash, was as given Sheven, there were only 7 strings, is Kedusha is holy. Nor the Gabi within kinor, but in comparison to the harp of the Mashiach, it says it will be what was in the holy temple will be like mundane. It was Mashiach is going to reveal a whole new level of holiness, even in the holy temple. All in Yanim, everything spiegelt sich up, everything is reflected in the Torah. Gefin in Mir Enlech, we can find something very similar in the Torah. Torah, even how it is in this world, is holy. From Despik, nevertheless, the Gabi dem Limud Torah was Mashiach learning the Torah. What Mashiach is going to teach everybody, Verting Angrufen Hevel, it's called wind. 1 second, we got over here. Somebody's coming in. No, okay. It's called wind. Mashiach is a Gimel. Gimel. We have to understand. Their tiruts from Kli Yakar, the explanation that the Kli Yakar gives for this answers, it doesn't really answer the question. Even more, the question seemingly becomes even stronger. Why is the day called the 8th day? What does the Kli Yakar say? The number 8 is totally different from all the other days of the year and the other days of the week. It's totally above, right? The number 8. So, and therefore it's called 8 to show that it's totally different from what was before. So he says, you want to show it's different, then use another example. Why the number 8? 8 still implies that this is a continuation. It depends on the 7. Is a Zoe Madrega versus Miyuchad. Number 8 has nothing to do with it. That's what the Kli Yakar said. Seeming that the number 8 has nothing to do with the previous days. The Gamri is totally higher than everything else. Like Mashiach is going to be totally different than the rest of the creation, right? Not exactly. We'll see. If the number 8 is totally higher, then why call it number 8? That seems to imply that there's a connection to what was before. Which why call it 8? 8 seems to be that it has a connection to the number 7, which is nature. Well, for Vast, he's the tug. Why is this day called the 8th day? And was thus mean? This means that it's a continuation to the previous days. Is the explanation is like is all the revelations that are going to be in the future, even though that they're totally incomparable to what's now, but nevertheless they all depend on what we do now. Chach, because the Giluim, the revelations in the future, they are from the level of Shmini, number 8, which hence the rabbis say the kinor, the harp of the Mashiach is going to be 8, which is higher than the whole entire creation, but nevertheless, the creations, us people, mitzayin avod, with our service, can do it nitgration. By our service now, we can't reach this tremendous higher level that it's going to be in the days of the Mashiach. But all of these revelations, Vilna Komen, come only, they come by means of our work. True, all of the revelations that are going to be in the future are going to be purely miracles from God. They're going to come from Hashem. So God seemingly is going to do the whole thing. So maybe we should just wait for it to happen, right? And therefore, it's a big mistake to call this week Torah portion the number 8, because it's not 8. It's something totally not connected to what was previous, right? Says the Rebbe, not exactly. From deswegen, nevertheless, Darfman Haben, we have to have our work now. In order to do the madrigas which avoda, which service cannot reach. Done, then nach der shlemas avoda, after we finish our service now, vedmen given, we can give from above the gilun, the revelations from the future, vazayin and hech, which are higher than any service can possibly reach. There's an example that's given in one of the Chabad books. He gives an example over there about good deeds and bad deeds. And he gives the example that once once there was a man, a rich man, and he asked somebody in the neighborhood if he would paint his rowboat. He had a rowboat, and if he would paint the rowboat for him, he was going on a vacation. And when he came back, he wanted the rowboat to be painted, and even more that he wanted him to do it fast because his grandchildren were going to come. They're going to go out on the rowboat in a couple of days, like a week before he returns from his trip. So he wants it to be nice painted and look nice for his grandchildren to use the rowboat. So he said, okay. So the young man went and he painted the rowboat. How much are you going to pay me? He said, I'll pay you $50 to paint it. It's good. So he paints the rowboat. But he notices when he's painting the rowboat that there's a hole. There's a weak spot over there, a little hole. And and so he fixes up the hole. He goes and he gets a piece of wood and he puts it in there and he plugs up the hole and then he paints the whole thing. Meanwhile, this man goes on the vacation and suddenly in the middle of his vacation, he remembers, oh, once again, there's a hole in the rowboat. And this story happened, let's say, 100 years ago. There was no cellular phones. In 50, there's no telephones. There's no anything. So how is he going to get back? So he realizes that there is, and he jumps in his car, and he cancels all of his this, and he drives back home. Or he takes a plane home, and he gets to the young man, and he says, the rowboat. And he sees there's his grandchildren on the sea. Oh, yeah, it's too late. They're on the, and they're happy. Oh, hi, Grandpa, you came back early. So he tells him to come, and he comes in, and he sees that this little hole is fixed up. So he calls the young man. The young man said, oh, I see you came back early. The young man said, yeah, tell me. There was a hole in the rowboat. Did you fix it? He said, oh yeah, I fixed it, but I painted the whole thing. And I'm glad you came back early because I sort of need the money, if you could pay me back now. I said, absolutely no problem. Here, take this. Take this. He gives him these big wads of money. He says, what's this? $50. These are big wads of hundreds. He says, yes, $10,000. 10,000. I just painted your thing. He said, you fixed that hole. I said, yeah, but the fixing of the hole, it took me 5 minutes. It took me to paint the whole thing. It took me almost an hour, to paint that, to fix the hole. So, and he says, yeah, but that hole, that's the most important thing to me. You saved my grandchildren's lives by fixing that hole. Fixing so tremendous importance. And so it's the same thing over here. He got the $10,000. He got $1 million. What was he got? That's totally incommensurate to the work that he did. He worked for 5 minutes, absolutely nothing, but he had to do that work. He did that little work. He fixed the hole, and the rich man gave him $1 million, but he had to do it. The rich man could have given $1 million no matter what he did. He could have given it. He had the billions. Who knows? Could have given it. But the same thing with us. We have to do Torah. We have to do the commandments. We have to do what we can. What we're doing, we're not doing with a complete heart. We don't know. We don't know what God is. We don't feel. We're doing God's commandments. We learn the Torah. We understand the outside layers of what the Torah is that we're learning. We understand the holiness of the rabbis of Reish Location, Rabbi Akiva, and this people. We understand who these people were. Now we're reading the words. He said like this. This person said like this. The external, we're like fixing a little hole in the thing. Oh, God said you did this for me. You learned the Torah. You did the commandments. Now I'm going to show you the secrets, the inside treasures of the Torah, the inside treasures of this. Little tiny things. So, but we have to do the work first. That's what it says. The Torah is called a gift. Usually, I'm sorry. 1 second. I'm sorry. Oh, we're over here. 1 second. 1 minute. No, we did this. Where am I? Where am I? What happened? I got involved in the story and I forgot. Oh, 1 second. Here we go. The story in my. Okay, similar. What's this like? What does it mean? We have to do a little bit, and God will give us a lot, right? So it says the Rebbe says. Here's a couple of examples. Shabbat. Shabbat. There are two levels of Shabbat. There's one level of Shabbat which is. 1 second. Excuse me. One level of Shabbat is that you rest from the 7 days of work, 6 days of work. Notice for gleich, it's like the Friedrich sex tugs. It's something like the 6 days, but it's holy. It's holy. But the kedusha, but the holiness of Shabbat is connected to the creation. 6 days you work, and at Shabbat you stop working. This is like Shabbat, which is above the creation, but it's connected to the creation. This is Hishtaushlos. This is the chain of creation, and it was drawn down by means of our service of the Jews from the 6 days. Like it says, you have to make the Shabbat. That's one level of Shabbat. Usually that's called the night of Shabbat. Then the Shabbat is Ma'ain. Shabbat, it says, is like the future world. It's like the raising of the dead. How's that? This is a hint at the day that's totally Shabbat. What's the day that's totally Shabbat? What is Shabbat, first of all? Shabbat is the day, the main thing of Shabbat is that we don't work. That's the main thing of Shabbat. We don't work. There's all these prohibitions. Don't do this, don't write, don't fix, don't cook, don't plow, don't all these things you're not supposed to do. Why aren't you supposed to do? Because God does it. Shabbat is the day when you realize that God is really doing everything. That's Shabbat. God is really doing everything. That's the fact. Okay, we don't really feel that God is doing everything, but at least we celebrate sort of like that God is doing everything. That's what's going to be in the future. God is doing it all. We have to do things, commandments. That's because God wants us to do. God gave us free will, and he wants us to use our free will the way we're supposed to, right? But that's also a gift from God. Shabbat, we sort of realize that. At least you're supposed to. The Shabbat is the day which is not just connected to the 6 days previously. This is higher than the whole entire creation. Like we said before, we can only reach this only by our service. We have to do something. I'm sorry. 1 second. Ken men sudem medrega nit zu kommen durch. That's right. We cannot earn this by any work. Right? Like the example I gave, he fills up the hole, and the rich man gives him $1 million. Right? No matter how much this boy works, how many rowboats he paints, he's not going to earn $1 million. You can't get this $1 million by means of any work. And okay, maybe my example is a sort of a weak example, but the essence of Shabbat, the day of Shabbat, this is a gift from God that we cannot earn, but nor Zevet will be drawn down from above, but on a way of eteruta de leila, an arousal from above. God does it on his own. Like it says in the Gemara, as oich de bechina, that even this level in Shabbat is also, God calls matana tova. It's called a free gift from me. I have it in my storehouse, and it's called Shabbat. The imagery of Shabbat, this level, the second level of Shabbat, this is a gift from above. The first level of Shabbat, this is the night of Shabbat, we're resting from our work. The second level of Shabbat, this is a gift from above. Was a matana bakumt, this comes from, becomes a receiver, not by means of his service, but because noten God gives him, while in given, just wants the one who's giving the gift, just wants to give him a gift. If it's because of what the work that he did, so it's not called really a gift. This is a fardinta bar loingen unit kain matana. This is like his wages, not a gift. So that we have the second level of Shabbat, the daytime of Shabbat, which that is a free gift from God. But From deswegen, nevertheless, Vert oi, and nothing we can do can possibly earn us this high level of Shabbat, like the level of the raising of the dead. We can't earn it. But nevertheless, Vert oich die hecher bedriga, even this higher level of Shabbat is only drawn down by means of when there is previously service of God. That's like the example I gave of filling up the hole. Misha Torah Be'erev Shabbat, a person that works on Shabbat, before Shabbat, he'll eat on Shabbat. You have to prepare for the Shabbat. This means taka nit as avoda, not that our service, this draws down this level of the free gift of Shabbat, that we earn it. No. It's like the rabbis say, Ilav the avid leinecha nafshe lo avi yahav le matanasa. You give a gift to somebody that you like. You don't give a gift to someone you don't like. There has to be some redeeming feature in that person that you give them a free gift. When der makabel, when the receiver, if the person that's receiving doesn't get any, you would not give him any sort of pleasure, there's this thing now they have, I've seen people showed me a few videos, that there's people that they go around and they give $1,000 randomly to people, right? Randomly to people. But I personally don't think it's so random. They don't give it to people who are like, knocked out on fentanyl or something in the middle of the street, or that they're, involved in crime or something. They find a person that's a genuine person, and he just had a bad luck. He had bad streak. He had whatever it is. He's just, what he's missing is somebody that cares about him. There's some people that they're like vacuum cleaners. Doesn't make any difference how much you care for them. It's not going to help them at all. Right? Sociopaths and these people, nothing is going to help them. That's it. Just only God himself will help them. Give him $1,000, he'll spend it on more drugs, he'll kill himself. But nevertheless, he does give $1,000. These people that give gifts, $1,000 to people that never would expect that they would receive. You see how these people are happy and that they cry. I mean, I hope this is not staged, but I don't think that it is. People that it changes their life. So he's giving a free gift, but he's giving a free gift to somebody that somehow or other found some sort of a merit in his eyes. Okay, but the merit does not deserve $1,000 or $10,000, whatever he gives him. Nor ven git is a sach mer. He just gives him a lot more than the merit that arouses in this person. Like it says, in them, that's the idea of a gift. So a gift is something that you get for free, yes, but you have to have some sort of a redeeming factor, some sort of grace or thing that you find in the giver's eyes that he gives it to you. So it's true that that the thing that you did is not worth that much money. But nevertheless, the same thing is also regarding to the revelations that are going to be on the 8th day of the Miluim that were in the Holy Temple. Even though these revelations were from such a tremendously high place that no work that we did could possibly reveal, Doch Zain and Zay Nimshach, they are drawn down. Nevertheless, they are only drawn down by our service. We have to do something, even make a small vessel, in order to reveal it. And remember the story of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. We'll talk about that in a second. Maybe that's the story I'll tell today. This we're going to finish tomorrow. 1 second. Friday. That's why you had to have the 7 days of the Miluim, the 7 days of inauguration, because that was the little bit of work that they had to do. That was like filling up the hole in the rowboat. As Bashashi is given the Shleimus Avoda, when there's the completion of service, is Nimshach, then there's drawn down an arousal from above on its own. It's like pushing a little button, and all of a sudden the whole factory starts working. What did I do? I just pushed a little button. You have to do your part. And therefore haste as mitten nomen. That's why this is called a shmini. Shmini, because it comes after the little bit of service that we do in the 7 days. We get an amazing gift of godliness. That's what they got back there in the temple, in the tabernacle, by means of their little bit of service. And God willing, we'll finish this tomorrow. This is going to be the idea of counting the Omer in order to receive the Torah, etc. We'll get to do this tomorrow. Here, let us look at the story. 1 minute.